All right. So good morning, Bernard. It's good
Good
to have you
morning,
today.
Priscilla. Thank
All
you.
right. So today we're going to read this article about smartphones. I'm going to actually change it from this location to another one, but we'll have it all here. Copy. Then I'm going to add it to this and stop sharing and share again. All right. Do you see smartphone use?
Okay.
So as I taught this class earlier today, I was working with a student that is preparing for the IELTS exam, and we were working with phrasal verbs. We were working with phrasal verbs, idioms, transitional phrases, and academic vocabulary. Okay. As the student prepares for the IELTS exam, when they're doing their conversational portion, it's important that they use phrasal verbs, hopefully an idiom, transitional phrases, and academic vocabulary. So I put some examples of each of these here. Do you see them?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. So what we're going to do is read the article. And as we read the article, you'll notice that I have color-coded PITA down here in the paragraphs. So this is not so much of importance to you, but you'll understand that if it's green, it is a phrasal verb. Usually phrasal verbs are two words together. If it's in red, it's academic vocabulary, being 3 or more syllables. And if it's purple, it's a transitional phrase. And the last one, an idiom, is yellow. Okay.
Okay.
So I've got one idiom, text, neck, and one transitional phrase, increasingly.
Okay.
All right. Now let's look at this picture. It says smartphone use could be changing shape of our skull.
Yes. It's surprising because I understand skull. I understand shape, and changing the shape of my skull means for me to change in length, to change
Yes.
in the figure.
Diameter and size. So
Yeah.
here, do you see there's a little mark? There's a little mark.
It's in the neck of
Yes,
a woman,
at the back of the neck.
at
There's a
the
little,
back of the neck of a woman.
well, it could be a woman or a man.
Uh,
But
I, I thought it was a man because I see a ring around the neck, black ring.
okay, it could be a woman, but it could be anyone.
Okay.
But yes. So there's a mark on the back of her neck as well.
Yes.
And this is the area that they're talking about. There's a bump there, like a little bit of a rising. That's her skull shape is changing. All right, let's take a look and see what it says, what the article actually tells us. If you'll start to read at number 1.
Okay. Scientists say that smartphones are changing the shape of people's skulls. Some people are spending so long looking at smartphones that a small bony bump is appearing above their neck.
Okay, so I just showed you, and here again, this is the neck area.
Yes.
This is the neck area, and above the neck is a bony area. Okay.
A bump is a small, like a small heel on the skin.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. My
Now,
God.
if you'll read number 2, paragraph 2.
Doctors say the bump is large enough to feel by pressing the bottom of the skull just above the neck. Dr. David Shahar, a health scientist at the University of the Sunshine Coast in Australia, spoke to the BBC about the discovery. He said, "I have been a clinician for 20 years, and only in the last decade, increasingly, I have been discovering that my patients have this growth on the skull."
Okay. So you see that there's a physician that has been observing this phenomena over the years. Okay. Paragraph 3.
The bump is becoming more frequent among 18 to 30-year-olds who spend many hours a day hunched over their smartphone. A study led by Dr. Shahar looked at the smartphone use of 1,200 people aged from 18 to 86. Shahar said 18 to 30 years olds were more likely to have the skull bumps than older generation. He said, "The bumps will probably be more common as we spend longer time bending our necks while looking at your phones."
Okay. And the last paragraph.
Doctors say the bump could come from constantly bending the neck at unnatural angles to look at digital devices. Our head weighs about 4.5 kilograms, and bending our head at the same angle for a long time can strain the neck. Doctors are calling this trend Necck. They say the skull bump rarely causes health issues. They advise people to change their posture if their neck becomes sore.
Okay. All right. So let me read this article for you. And
It's very surprising.
okay. Smartphone use could be changing shape of our skulls. 18th of June, 2019. Scientists say that smartphones are changing the shape of people's skulls. Some people are spending so long looking at smartphones that a small bony bump is appearing above their neck. Doctors say the bump is large enough to feel by pressing the bottom of the skull just above the neck. Dr. David Shahar, a health scientist at the University of the Sunshine Coast in Australia, spoke to the BBC about the discovery. He said, "I have been a clinician for 20 years, and only in the last decade, increasingly, I have been discovering that my patients have this growth on the skull. The bump is becoming more frequent among 18 to 30-year-olds who spend many hours a day hunched over their smartphone." A study led by Dr. Shahar looked at the smartphone use of 1,200 people aged 18 to 86. Shahar said 18 to 30-year-olds were more likely to have the skull bumps than older generations. He said the bumps will probably be more common as we spend longer time bending our necks while looking at our phones. Doctors say the bump could come from constantly bending the neck at unnatural angles to look at digital devices. Our head weighs about 4.5 kilograms, and bending our head at the same angle for a long time can strain the neck. Doctors are calling this strain Necck. They say the skull bump rarely causes health issues. They advise people to change their posture if their neck becomes sore. So there we have the reading of smartphone use could be changing the shape of our skull. Did you understand the article? And if so, summarize the article or ask questions that we can better understand what we have read.
I understand the article, and I was very surprising from the text.
Mm-hmm.
I could even imagine that it was a fake news. It's so surprising.
Okay. No, I think it's probably true because we will see that people do spend a great deal of time using their phone and texting, and their necks are actually bent. So I can see that there's probably a great deal of truth behind that. Okay. So do you actually text a lot using your phone?
No, I'm not a fan of the smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, my smartphone is in my pocket, is in my office upstairs or downstairs in the kitchen, or sometimes I forgot it in my car.
Uh-huh.
Most of the time, when people call me on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
I need to recall them a few times after.
Okay, and so that you can listen to it. I don't think I spend that much time texting either, but I will take the time to listen to the recorders. If I'm texting, but I'm not texting, but I do type a lot, but I'm using my desktop and that sort of thing. Okay, so Bernard, I'm going to need to end my class now. My mother's actually getting up, and I can see her struggling, trying to get to the edge of that bed. All right.